Hey there, I'm Pete Townsend, and this is Money Never Sleeps. We look inside the minds of entrepreneurs and at the crossover of startups, enterprise, finance, technology, and life as we know it. This episode of Money Never Sleeps is sponsored by SecuriCentrics. SecuriCentrics is a trusted cybersecurity company with offices in Dublin, Cape Town, and London. SecuriCentrics provides expert advisory services, primarily in the finance and fintech industries, with tailored security solutions to fit your specific needs and regulatory challenges. In this episode, we welcome back Ollie Walsh, co-founder and CEO of Galway, Ireland-based Pipit Global. Ollie and I recorded this episode while he was on his way out for the Night Summit events at Web Summit 2022 in Lisbon. In addition to a quick recap on his day at Web Summit, Ollie shared some insights on Pipit's next step on their mission to help migrants support their families back home cheaper and safer, with one giant step into DeFi with their Konect network. Ollie and I also riffed on the inspiration behind bringing Konect to market, what makes the African market so ripe for fintech and now decentralized finance as well, the other markets around the world where the same forces are at work, and the for-profit business model that is social finance. All right here on Money Never Sleeps. How the hell is Web Summit going, Ollie Walsh?
Web Summit is a bit crazy, a bit busy. 90 minutes to get in this morning. 90 minutes. And a 2 kilometer long queue.
Jesus. You'd think they'd get that right after all these years.
You would think so, yeah. So, I mean, you had to, there's only one place you can get your badge, and you had to walk back about 1.5 kilometers to the end, to the start of the queue. But when you walk back that far, you actually met a queue going the opposite direction to a different entrance. So, just under 90 minutes it took me to get in. I think it's a generalist event, a generalist tech event. It's good for people going to see talks, but for a payments specialist, there's way more value in Money 2020 or even seamless payments. It's seamless in Accra, in Ghana, and it's seamless in Dubai. They were much more relevant to me. So I mean, it was very much orientated around the talks and not about the exhibitors. And I was there to meet the exhibitors, not for the talks. So, but, I spent all day yesterday at a kind of a rapid payments side event, which was really good. That was kind of off campus, I suppose you'd call it. So no, I had a lot of good meetings, but it's pretty frustrating now, 90 minutes queuing up.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I mean that the majority of the value of Web Summit are all the side events. Right. And and sometimes that's the case with a lot of different events. I mean, I'm going to Token 2049 next week in London, and I'm not actually going to go to the event. I'm just doing the meetings and post-conference events on the 2 days. So, it's just, if you plan these things right, you can get a lot of work done while you're there and meet a lot of good people, right?
Exactly. It's all in the pre-planning.
Cool.
Now, of course, the app as well today, the venue map didn't work on the app, so it made it a bit tricky to find the exhibitors you were looking for.
Yeah, and it's a huge, 3 football field size of an event space, isn't it?
Oh, at least, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Well, listen, Ollie, this is your 3rd time on the show, so thank you for coming back. You're the only one out there who has been on the show 3 times, other than myself and Owen Fitzgerald, who is not with us today.
Okay, I'm in serious company.
You are in damn good company here. So just to get things started, given that the audience may not have heard you on episode 52 in 2019 or episode 133 last year, you just give us a brief recap on your story so far as co-founder and CEO of Pipit.
Okay, so what we started off with in Pipit was international cash transactions. So we're a B2B cash platform. One end of that platform connects to banks, e-wallets, billers, and e-commerce platforms in emerging markets. And the other end connects to cash in points like Payzone in Ireland or PayPoint in the UK. And the consumer is an unbanked migrant. So it's somebody who's using Western Union to send cash home. They don't have a bank account where they live. With our model, that consumer can log on to one of our partner apps, for example, Barter, which is owned by Flutterwave, African e-wallet, and they can lodge cash into that wallet in Dublin or Sheffield or Paris. The cost of sending cash home at Western Union is about 9.5%. The cost of loading it into your account with us is 3.5%. So we are a for-profit social impact platform, and the social impact is the amount we save the migrant in fees. Over the last year, we've evolved into migrant payment services from just cash payment services. So now we're doing mobile money payments and some bank transactions in Africa specifically. There's I suppose a perception in the West of when an African migrates for economic reasons, they move to Europe or the States, whereas 70% of African migrants stay in Africa. So they move to the Lagos, or they move to Nairobi, or they move to Johannesburg, the economic powerhouses of Africa. And cross-border transactions, remittances in Africa are even more expensive than from Europe to Africa because they're
really
served. Yeah. So I mean, some corridors in Africa, it's up to 20% of the transaction is fees. So we're in 18 African countries now for cash and mobile money. Yeah. Mobile money is huge in Africa. Bank isn't, but we can also do that. We have the capability of doing cards, but we're kind of reluctant to do that just because of the amount of fraud involved in card transactions. Just stay away from it. It's essentially migrant payment services. So helping migrants support their families at home cheaper and safer.
Very good. And that's what rolls right off the tongue. And just for listeners, so they know, and we've disclosed this before, I am non-executive director on the board of Pipit. So obviously I've got some views into this business as well. Recently, in the last year or so, you and I have been talking a lot about DeFi, or decentralized finance, and how it all works. And at one point in time with all of this, something clicked for you and said, well, wait a second, we can do something here. There's something unique about this. There are, even though Pipit has been on a strong mission for a number of years, there are still 1.6 billion unbanked in the world, right? And that some of the ideas around crypto and digital assets, and say, for example, Coinbase's mission of creating an open financial system for the world, it's a new digital financial infrastructure that still has a long way to go to be adopted. But the wave of momentum is increasing, and there's been a huge amount of progress over the last 13 years, really, since we first saw crypto with Bitcoin, and things have changed so much. What was your inspiration point for bringing the Konekt product to market? And tell us about what it is and why it's important.
The inspiration was around that mission. It's helping migrants support their families cheaper, faster, and safer. And one of the slow points, I suppose, in international transaction is the actual settlement. It's the time for a settlement. I mean, a SWIFT transaction can be anything up to 5 days, depending where the money's going to, and the cost can be $50, $100 again, depending on where it's coming from and going to, which was a kind of a barrier, and combined with the fact that we're a cash collection network predominantly, so there is a settlement lag between the cash being collected and getting to us and us getting it to the merchant. And by tokenizing our settlements, we can speed that up considerably, and we can reduce the cost considerably. So we can simultaneously offer better service and lower cost to our ultimate consumer, who is the migrant, and at the same time, strengthen our margin. So it's win-win. We're all about win-win in Pipit. So we made the decision to launch our own token, Konekt. We will be transferring a lot of our settlements, if not ultimately all of our settlements, onto USDC. We'll be working with a number of partners. So SwapBitsa is our first partner, they use USDC and USN for settlements. We've signed each other's agreements. We met them in NearCon also about a month ago. So we will be using their services initially for doing our settlements over USDC, but they're also using our cash in and cash out, especially cash out for the last mile, so that they actually go live. They're a remittance platform, essentially. So they go live this week, I think, in Kenya for payout to M-Pesa using our rails. But we've just been approved by Circle to use USDC directly with them. So our Circle account is now open, so we'll be able to transfer funds internationally with Circle. So the inspiration really was around improving our service and improving the offering that we can make to migrants and to our merchants.
That's great. And, obviously being familiar with this and some of the key points behind all of this, Ollie, but by making this change now, where can you go from here? How much further can you take the service model that you provide for those that are moving between countries? This whole home to host country corridor alignments that you've been working on for a number of years now. And by doing this now with Konekt and putting this network in place that is basically using stablecoin rails as opposed to the traditional financial rails like Swift, like you said. What does this set you up to be able to do on top of Konekt beyond the settlement layer, like you said?
Well, it's really set up around scaling. We've put in a lot of hard yards in terms of signing up and integrating cash collection partners and then mobile money partners and across Africa and across Latin America. We've 1.4 million cash in points now connected, but in 28 countries for cash across Europe, Africa, Latin America, North America. We've also 300 million e-wallets connected and 100 million African bank accounts, which is a lot of work. It's
Yeah.
You think in the tech world it's just connecting up an algorithm, but between the sale and agreements, legals, compliance, and then integration and testing and going live, and then connecting a merchant to that, it's a long road. And we've now, after 5 years, I think we're at the start line now, really, and it's now the time to drive the transactions. So, I mean, transaction wise, we're still fairly early days, but we've the model well proven and established. So now it's time to really drive that, and the launch of the token will provide some of the funding to do that as well. So Konekt will be available on an exchange. Initially, it's available on a private sale on a SAF, and the in terms of the consumer uptake, initially the tokenization of the settlement will be an operational. So the migrant living in Dublin still hands over their cash in the counter, and it still goes into an e-wallet in Ghana. But that settlement is done behind the scenes by us in USDC. But ultimately, Konekt will be on an exchange. So the crypto-enabled migrant, of which there's more and more, will be able to buy Konekt on an exchange and just send it to somebody through a wallet, who will then be able to convert it into the local currency.
Very good. Very good. No, and there's more and more models that are popping up like that all over the world just because it makes so much more sense. And I think it's going to be those that are moving now with the payment infrastructure around crypto rails, around stablecoin rails in particular, that are going to be, obviously out at the frontier, but it's a good place to be in this space.
I think so. I mean, it's in some ways, unfortunately, it's going to be continuously a growth industry, remittance, due to economic reasons, and as we're seeing now in Ukraine, due to conflict reasons, and also we're seeing it due to climate change reasons. So the migrant market is growing, which means the remittance market is going to continue to grow. So it's about helping people support their families. So it's always been about for us. That's been the mission. And this enables us to do it better.
Yeah, and you're removing layers, right? And like you said, is that I think it was Sam Bankman-Fried who put together something recently on some suggestions for self-governing of the crypto ecosystem. And he laid out that, say, just for doing a trade on Robinhood, that you go through 16 pairs of hands, you don't even know it. When you are sending money via crypto rails, you are basically, it's peer-to-peer. And, when you're doing it through Konekt, the origination point looks the same to the consumer, like you said. And at the end point, it looks the same. It's that in between, so many layers have been removed. And so much friction and so much time has been removed. I do expect, like I said, that we're going to see more of this.
Well, when we started talking to a lot of the kind of crypto wallets and crypto companies, I think there's certainly a lot of growth opportunity for us there, providing our on and off ramp as well to cash in and cash out and bank in and mobile money. There is a definite requirement for a lot of the wallets are kind of crypto to crypto. So getting the money into the system and out of the system is also important. So we're in conversations with quite a few wallets now to provide them services too, which are again cross-border services. So we're providing our physical infrastructure to existing crypto wallets as well.
Yep. And I think the big necessary distinction to make over and over again is that when those that aren't part of this space hear crypto, they think volatility. And a lot of people I'm still surprised, are not aware that stablecoins exist. And as you know, stablecoins are crypto assets that are pegged 1-to-1 primarily to the US dollar. The rest are, perhaps slowly coming, but the fact that 85% of the world's commercial transactions take place in USD, then having the primary stablecoin out there in the world being linked to USD, or the primary stable coins with USDC and Tether, that it just makes a heck of a lot of sense to, that you link it to USD, and that obviously with a stable coin, you're not dealing with the ups and downs of, even the most widely recognized crypto assets out there, Bitcoin, Ethereum, you can go down the list, and there's volatility attached to each one of them. Lately, not so much so, but these are different kinds of assets. And when you're actually, moving people's hard-earned cash through crypto rails, doing it through stablecoins is the most sensible way to do it.
Let me take a minute to tell you more about our sponsors. SecurityCentric strives to be the trusted partner that secures your information assets deemed critical for your business. SecurityCentric also delivers the highest level of security expertise and support to their clients. Even further, SecurityCentric provides independent cybersecurity assessments and advisory against best practice industry standards and compliance frameworks. Working as an extension of your team, SecurityCentric helps you recognize and control data risk to your business by understanding your level of risk. In short, SecurityCentric provides many solution offerings from assessment and advisory, managed security services, cloud and infrastructure validation, vulnerability management and testing, and payment security. Get in touch with the team at securitycentrics.com to learn more, or email info@securitycentrics.com. That's SecuriCentrix.com.
Now, moving on a bit, I shared with you that I spoke with over 80 fintech founders in Western Africa in the last 6 weeks in helping out the ARM Labs Lagos Techstars Accelerator program get off the ground. I was just amazed by what I saw. There was so many fintechs coming out of the Western Africa market. What is it that makes the Western Africa market so ripe for fintech, but also what we call the DeFi mullet that you're working on, right? Fintech up front, DeFi in the back. What is it about the Western Africa market that makes it so ripe for what you're doing?
I think it's the lack of banking facilities have really inspired this leapfrog of banking. There was for many years a drive to get more people in Africa banked, whereas now it's all mobile money. The banking infrastructure in terms of the cities, if you're in Lagos, it seems like every second door is a bank, but once you get out of the city, there's no coverage at all. Whereas with the mobile payments, there is total coverage, and a lot of the the M-Pesas in the world, for example, you don't need broadband or you don't need an internet connection at all. It's all done through USSD, a lot of it through text messages. You just need airtime. I think that connectivity and availability has made rolling out mobile money as inspired by M-Pesa, really, who started it, I suppose. It's everybody has a phone, and nobody's a bank account. So I mean, in the likes of Nigeria, 25% of people have a bank account, and that's high for Africa. When you get into Senegal or Uganda or Ivory Coast or Cameroon, the numbers are way lower. But pretty much everybody has a phone, which means that people can transact, and they can transact easily and cheaply as well. So loading funds into it and sending funds is very cost effective. So I think that's what's inspired us, and obviously the growth of crypto has made that cheaper and faster as well. So there's a variety of regulatory differences across Africa. Has kind of ebbed and flowed about whether crypto is allowed or not, and it has regulated for it. I think it was May this year. They've regulated exchanges and launched their own e-Naira as well. At least 2 countries, I think Tanzania's one, has made Bitcoin legal tender as well. So there's a lot of moves. The governments and the regulators in African countries, especially, are very aware of the requirement for remittance and the amount of the percentage of remittances that is GDP in some of those countries, especially the poorer countries. It's a high percentage of GDP is remittance. So they need to make that as cheap as possible against the country, because 9% of it being tied up in fees with Western Union is a lot of money. When you look at just Nigeria gets, I think, $3 billion in remittance a year. And a lot of that's in cash. Now Nigeria is an outlier. I mean, the second biggest recipient is Kenya, and that's $1 billion. So there's and scale goes down from there. But I think the lack of connectivity, combined by the availability of technology, lack of banking connectivity, and then technology has caused that leapfrog, and your DeFi models has come into effect.
Totally. And I'm just thinking about some of those numbers. $3 billion goes into Nigeria through remittance each year. And even, skimming some off the top there of around Western Union takes, it's easily 200 million in fees.
Easily, yeah. Well, I mean, even if the migrant living in Europe does have a bank account, the SWIFT fee is £20 from the UK.
Yeah.
And the average transaction is £200, which is 10%. So the £20 is fine if you're sending £10,000, but it's a remarkable number at 200 because it's the average from Europe is €200, from England is £200, from the US is $200, from Australia is $200. It's 200 everywhere. It's like pie. It's just this remarkable number.
Yeah, 3.14.
But the fees are huge. I mean, the Gates Foundation estimate it's billions, and it's going to have an estimate of that's been tied up in fees. But when the remittance gets on the ground, it's the basics. It's literally food and clothes, followed by electricity and water, and then followed by education. And education is the number one way out of poverty. So the more money that gets into emerging markets, it breaks those countries out of that loop of poverty by educating more of their young people.
Yeah.
And that's where we're trying to help.
Yeah, absolutely. No. And the numbers are staggering. And if you just think about diverting even a portion of that to education, to, people's quality of life and ability to actually go to school, that is a big, big, big difference. And I think that's, a lot of what you and I had talked about in the past, Ollie, had been around, call it social inclusion, call it social finance. And that, what you're doing is not charity. It's a business model. It's being able to do things at a level, leveraging technology that is a quantum leap from where the current incumbents are doing it, and doing it at a level that is still profitable for.
Yeah, we're very strong on that we can make a big impact by reducing. So we can make a profit at that by offering our service at 3.5%. It's a huge saving for the migrant, get that extra money home. But by being a for-profit, we're not limited as a charity is by trying to get funds in, or limited as a non-profit. And like I said, it's win-win. So the more transactions that we do, the more good we do, and the more we do for the migrant and their family and society and communities in emerging markets, but also for our team and our shareholders and their stakeholders. And I think
absolutely,
it's only 5 or 6 years ago we started this. At that stage, the model in the payments world was very competitive. It was a kind of a zero gain type model, where now it's totally collaborative, where people are realizing that we need to share services and share capabilities for everybody's benefit. So I think there's been a big turnaround in the mindset of the industry over the last 5 years.
Yeah. And I've been looking at the whole Western Africa market and saying, I think it's something like 425 million people, which is about half the size of what the Chinese population was when China's emerging middle class started to take hold, say, 15 years ago. And that what's happened in that market with fintech and the super apps that have ballooned out of that market, and how much people have come to rely on their smartphones and technology, and what that's done overall to the economy of the country and the economy of the region. We could see the same things happening in Western Africa.
Well, it's estimated now there's a kind of a 600-mile strip from Ivory Coast, Cameroon to Lagos. And it's estimated by 2050, 40% of the world's population will live in that 600 miles.
Jesus.
And it'll be the youngest portion of the world's population as well. So that could kind of go either way in terms of infrastructure. We talked about lack of banking infrastructure, but there's a serious lack of roads and electricity. There's a lot of investment required there to make sure that goes well, because the numbers of people are going to be there either way.
Yeah, no, it is either a significant economic opportunity or a major humanitarian societal problem, right? And there's going to be a lot of people that could be pretty pissed off about the way things are.
Yeah.
So we got to take care of this fast. So outside of Western Africa, are there any other regions that you're focused on and thinking that there's going to be a good opportunity there?
Yeah, so we're for cash in, we're live across most of LATAM, Central and Southern America. Most, as in I think all of it except Argentina. So again, there is huge cross-border flows within Latin America. So our first, I think 3 merchants have gone live in Mexico and Brazil. So we're transacting there now, and one of those merchants is a PSP. So they're targeting about having 100 merchants live in the first half of 2023. So that'll be a lot of growth for us. And we're in conversations now with partners for Asia Pacific region. So from India as far as Japan for cash and other alternative payment methods. So I think transaction-wise, our focus over the next 2 years is going to be within Africa and to and from Africa, but network-wise, at the same time, we'll be focusing on building up our capabilities into we are on every continent, and we're happy to use the word global in our name, but there's still a ways to go in being truly global in our network. So we're kind of dual tracking that while launching a cryptocurrency at the same time.
And eventually planetary by the migrants moving to Mars.
Yes. Yeah.
We will get there. I've been watching that show For All Mankind. Don't ruin it for me if you've watched it. I'm about halfway through the second season. But it's a story. It's on Apple Plus on what would have happened if the Russians had made it to the moon first, and how might that have changed history and changed the motivation of the Apollo program and where that ended up going. So it's pretty fascinating so far. But what I think it's going to mean is an accelerated arrival on Mars versus where we are right now. So in an alternate reality somewhere, already we have Pipit powering interplanetary cash transactions, not just international cash transactions. Cool.
I'll change your tagline. Planetary cash transactions.
Yeah. And I'll tell my friends at IPFS or Interplanetary File Systems all about what you're doing as well. But listen, given that you've already answered this question a couple of times, I'm sure you can find another answer for it, Ollie, but it is a question we asked everybody finishing up this podcast. What is one more thing that people wouldn't expect to know about Ollie Walsh?
I was anticipating this question.
Yeah.
So I'm going a bit left field with the answer, in that I was once part of a Guinness World Record winning team. I was one of the 1,000 people who participated in the world's biggest table quiz. It was a charity event organised by the Radisson in Galway for Cree about 10 years ago, I'd say it was. So at the time, we got into Guinness Book of Records for the biggest ever table quiz.
Oh my God! And tell me, did you win?
No, we didn't. At about the halfway phase, we were in the top 10 out of, well, it was 1,000 people divided by 4, 250 teams of 4 people. We didn't make it into the top 10 at the end, I'm afraid.
Do you remember any of the questions?
There was a lot of really local ones that didn't suit us. Black and white pictures of county crests done in black and white, so you couldn't pick out the colours, like what county is this from, things like that. I think the GAA might have been involved in organising it.
Yeah, the mystery of it all.
It was good fun, but I got the record, so
awesome.
I can tick it off. Guinness World Record done.
And for our international listeners, those that may not be aware of who the Guinness Book of World Records was named after.
Oh, well,
do you know?
It was sponsored by Guinness.
There you go. Thank you. So yeah, Irish
to end arguments in pubs over who was the best at what.
On another note, my parents are over from Boston, and my mom and dad just had my middle kid in town. They went to the bookshop. They brought back 2 books. One, Surrender, the new book, the autobiography that Bono wrote.
Okay.
And 2, the Guinness Book of World Records 2023. So it's I'll have to flip through it and see who the table quiz record holder is right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm sure Bono's in there a few times.
Yeah, Bono's in there for something. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right, Ollie. Listen, thanks so much. Awesome having you on the show again. Best of luck with the rest of your time in Lisbon at Whips. Make the most of it, pal.
Looking forward to my 4th appearance.
Yeah, good man. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Talk to you soon.
That does it for this week, folks. Thanks to Ollie Walsh for opening up his mind to help us figure out why he does what he does. Links to get in touch with Ollie and learn more about Pipit and their new Konect network are in the show notes on our website, moneyneversleeps.ie, so check us out online. Also, thanks to Conan Brophy from Create Sound for mixing and editing this episode. Conan is an excellent media man to get in touch with when you're thinking about launching your own podcast. As for me, I'm an early-stage startup investor focused on where fintech meets crypto and crypto meets Web3. There are plenty of links in the show notes on moneyneversleeps.ie on how to get in touch with us, so don't hesitate to reach out. Finally, until next time, thanks for listening. See ya!
Money never sleeps, pal.